What's up, everybody? It's your boy Snak Pak, and we are back. We got a big update for the MH-60 from Miltech Simulations, and we're going to go through that today. As you can see right here, I've got the Israeli Defense MH-60 here. Now, one thing I want to point out is before I fly, I configure these aircraft. All right, so I think I can pull up my little guy here. I might have to wait until I get back in the aircraft before I can manipulate that. But what they're configured for and default values is like massively overgrossing the aircraft. I'm not sure it really plays into like the flight characteristics or anything like that, but I just basically take all the cargo out, right? I take the little cargo little bar and I just move it to 0. All right. So this aircraft right now is grossing at like 15,000 pounds or something like that, as opposed to like 29 or whatever it is, right? So, all right, before we get started on some of the updates, some of y'all been holding out on me. I told you a while ago about my wife's book, so I'm putting a link up here, all right? If you guys will please check that out. It's a really freaking awesome book, and it's 99 cents on Kindle, right? I think if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can just download it and read it for free, all right? It's definitely like an adult-themed book, all right, and it's about vampires, which I know most of my audience is like 35-year-old males who probably aren't interested in that kind of thing. But I promise you, if you've ever been interested in anything like that, it's something special, and I think you guys should check it out. So we're just trying to get her to blow up on Amazon here. So if everybody who's watching this, I got 17,000 views on the last video. If everybody could just go there and pay 99 cents for this book, then her stuff's going to explode, and then all the rest of her books will pop out. So hook a brother up. I promise you, she's like an incredibly talented author, and it's not just like a one-off thing. So check it out. All right, back to the review. One thing I forgot to show you guys last time, you come around, you walk around this on pre-flight, which I just do with my Xbox controller, and you can hit left button and then B, and then you can kind of like come inside and outside the aircraft like that, right? And so this is how you do your little pre-flight inspection. And one of the things that I thought was amazing that they modeled was these little steps. So these come out, and like you can see, they all come out. Oh shit, you can even climb up here? What? This is actually super cool. So I actually get up here every day and climb up those steps, and then I go inspect the tail rotor. Because if the tail rotor, something happens to that in flight, it's going to be a real bad day for you, all right? Believe it or not, it is possible to survive if you lose this tail rotor. But it's not going to be fun. There's actually a video that we watched in the Army back when I was in the Army, and even now as a contractor, we still do aircrew coordination training, and there's this video. Of course, we have like cockpit voice recorders, as everybody's very well familiar with now after the DC crash. Everybody's been talking about it. But there was an Apache who their tail rotor departed the aircraft in flight. And they ended up coming in and landing, and this guy who landed it, he was like this awesome warrant officer who, on the cockpit voice recorder, he's coming in to land, and he's like, "All right, come on, baby, fly for daddy, you can do it, come on, baby." And he ended up landing it with no tail rotor and no other damage to the aircraft. He did a great job. So it's a really famous video, and the fly for daddy thing is permanently emblazoned on the U.S. Army as a point of pride. So great job to that pilot. I forget his name, but he did a great job. Cool. So this is the Israeli Air Force MH-60. It looks pretty awesome. Really awesome paint job. All right, so let's hop in. I'll put my little controller away here. So as an added benefit, I tried to make my video editing a little bit better here, really just how I'm recording this, so now you can actually see everything. I'm sorry about that last video. I kind of made it in haste. I had a really busy week. And I've also got my track IR working a little bit better. I just use my phone, by the way. There's a little app you can download as a free app called Smooth Track, and then I use that with AI Track. So if you guys aren't familiar with this, anybody's just wondering how I do it, or Open Track rather. And so you can see this little octopus guy just does whatever I do when I move my head around. So if you're not familiar with that, super cool tech. It's actually been around for a while, but I'm sure most of you already know what's going on. Now, we're here in Garmisch, Partenkirchen. I think I'm saying that right. Any of my Deutsch friends can please correct my pronunciation there. But this is probably one of the most beautiful places in the whole world. And my wife and I went on vacation here a couple years ago. Obviously, I've got to fly here back in 2020 during the whole COVID era. I got to fly around this area. Just around to the south, there's the Neuschwanstein Castle, which is what the Disney World Cinderella's castle was modeled after. But it's like a real life freaking castle, and it's incredible. You can go check it out. But if you ever go to Germany on vacation, Garmisch is probably like the one place I would recommend you go above all else. I mean, there's so many cool places to see in Germany, but like this is by far my favorite place. We went here for Christmas 2 years ago, and it was like magical. It was like a fairy tale land, right? It's awesome. All right, so without further ado, let's get to checking this thing out and see if we can start it up. Today, I'm gonna actually pull out the checklist. All right, so wheel chocks, park and brake set. So the park and brake is down here. If it's up like this, then you're good. All right, tail wheel switch is right behind that, and it's locked. That's good. Engine fire T-handles forward. I don't think you can really mess with these. Yeah, it doesn't. Oh, also, my cursor is actually going to be pointed to what I'm actually pointing at today. That was an issue in my last video, so sorry about that. Again, that was a very hastily made video. This one will take a little bit more time. All right, APU fire T-handle is in as well. That's this guy right here. It's in op for the model, which is fine. All right, but in real life, basically, if we have an engine fire or an APU fire, we just pull those T-handles, and then we have a fire extinguish switch right here, which I think is in op. I don't know. Does it work? Yeah, it says in op. But we actually have these little fire bottles. It's like James Bond. It's really cool. So you hit those switches, and then it'll go like shoot fire retardant into those engine compartments and stuff. So, all right. So those are in. Battery switch on. So I think we have two. Oh no, that's external power switch. Okay, one battery. Cool. And now we got some caution lights, warning lights. Cool. All right, battery switch, fire detection test. That should be a little switch right here. There we go. So when we put that on 1, we'll see various warnings. We got fire here on my master warning caution panel. There's another one on the other side. And then all the lights should light up. APU, and then engine 2 and engine 1 fire T-handles, right? So if those ever illuminate in flight, we're like, oh, that's not good, right? And so we start taking action. All right, so, okay, so that's off. Interior, exterior, NVD lighting. I'm not really worried about that. We're during the day. Area clear, exhaust plugs and pitot tubes removed. Air source ECS switch, we're going to go to APU. I think I already have it on APU. So this is the air source heat switch. This just tells us where we want the pneumatic system to charge from, right? Now the APU doesn't need pneumatics to start itself. It's got its own little, it's basically this little thing that gets it started. I won't go into detail, but it starts itself. And once that's started, we pressurize the pneumatic system with the APU because we need compressed air to get the engine started, right? So we're going to use the APU to do that. I think I mentioned that in my last video. Prime fuel pump, APU boost. All right, APU boost. And then APU control switch should be next. I'm just assuming. There it is. APU on, cool. So we get this little cold capsule light. Those are great, right? This is like legit. We have these in real aircraft. Again, this is a MH model, and I usually fly the UH model. So, all right, I'm gonna pause here for just a second. Okay, it's a little bit loud, but I think I'll be able to deal with that. All right, so the APU's on. Now we're gonna turn the APU generator on. All right, generators, APU generator on. Next is gonna be, we already did air source as required, right? I must have skipped some stuff, that's fine. Okay, it tells me flight and mission displays on. So yeah, we should be able to turn on PFD. And then over here, my co-pilot can turn theirs on. All right, primary and backup switches and EGIs. All right, that's all these switches right here. We're just going to turn all these on. Now go away, I don't want him. By the way, there's this little switch here. You can turn on your your co-pilot. And it looks pretty cool, but their hands just kind of stay there awkwardly, like they're in, what's that called, rigor mortis? After somebody dies and they just like, their body stiffens up. All right, I'm not gonna dog them on that, all right. Okay, moving on. Yeah, blade fold, we don't want any of this. Pylon, utility, hydraulic pump switch on. So utility, hydraulic pump switch was way back, where was that? Oh yeah, back here. All right, cool. Baro, altitudes, clocks, standby instruments set, cool. Okay, one of the big things is they fixed the standby altimeter right here, which is awesome. This thing, you may have seen it, it was counting in like ones of feet instead of hundreds of feet, so they fixed the code, all right? So you're welcome, everybody. By the way, they made a lot of changes. I talked to the Miltech team, they reached out to me, I reached back out to them, and I told them a lot of stuff that I was, you know, disappointed with. I'm sure they saw the video. And they made a lot of fixes, right? So that's one of the big ones that I saw, was that altimeter was going crazy, but it's definitely working correctly now, so awesome job. All right, moving on, cautions and advisories, acknowledge. If you want to acknowledge any of the cautions advisories, you just push the center switch. Great. Radar, altimeter, set DH, okay, I'm not really concerned with any of that. Let's get these engines started. So area clear, doors closed, SAS 1, SAS 2, trim all on. So that's going to be these guys right up here. 1, 2, 3, and zoom in just a little bit. You can see that the lights come on when they're on, right? So they're kind of like faded out in gray when they're off, and then you get the green, we're good. Green, good. Remember that. If you want to be a pilot or a sim pilot or whatever it is, green always means good. Red, bad. Yellow, eh. Okay, it's just like stoplights. They try to make it simple for us, even though these things are very complex. You know, there's a lot going on when you're in the air, so you want things to be as simple as possible, right? KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. All right, stabilator control, I'm gonna put that on. Auto, okay, so we want the stabilator on auto mode. That's this guy back here, all right, this big wing. And if it's in the auto mode, it'll actually move position automatically, which is pretty awesome, right? So if I'm going pretty slow, like it's gonna start trailing down, and then if I start speeding up, it's gonna trail up in the back just to make it more aerodynamic. All right, and it leads to stability for us. Engine ignition switch is gonna come to norm. 1 and 2 fuel selectors will go to cross feed. This is just something we do on the first flight. We just put them in cross feed. There we go. So those are in cross feed. Lights is required, I don't really care. Starter button 1 pressed. It looks like they took the fuel boost pump thing out, right? So the boost pumps are down here. Those right here? Where are they? Ah, boost pumps. It looks like they're already on. I don't know. Whatever. But you wouldn't have these on normally, right? You wouldn't have the boost pumps on. Basically, the engines suck fuel out of the fuel tanks. It's like a negative pressure system, like you're sucking from a straw. But if you turn the boost pumps on, then it's going to press it up from the bottom. And you don't need those on. That's for other stuff, right? So, okay, we're going to get the starter button pressed. Starter button's pressed. We're going to get engine 1 starter, I believe, is the advisory. Yeah, 1 starter. So now the starter's on. TGT less than 80. So let's look at TGT. And TGT here is less than 80 on engine 1. Okay, so now we're going to put the PCL to idle. There we go. We should start seeing the blades start moving. We hear that low bassy sound. This is what I was saying in my last video. That's the sound of a jet engine starting. Hell yeah. Oh, I don't want this rotor brake on. Off. There we go. Okay, and then we would be looking for our NG. NG is the compressor section of your engine, right? So we would be watching for that to rise, and then the starter caution went out. So I assume we had a good start. All right, and then let's see, PCL engine 1. Boop, 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 check values. Okay, and then we're just going to do the same thing with the other engine. All right, push the starter. We're looking for TGT. And the TGT should not be above 80, right? If it is, like maybe the engine was just working and it's still warm and they just don't want you to start it when it's hot. All right, we'll go to idle. The sound effects on this are really good, by the way. I forgot to mention that in the last video. The sounds are really good. The APU sound, and the sounds of these engines starting, and the sounds of the engines and transmissions in flight are all very, very much accurate. Okay, the one starter advisory went out. I'm getting a bunch of cautions, and it should be like hydraulics and generator stuff right here. Okay, cool. That's normal. All right. Sweet. We're checking everything. We're just checking values. Yeah. Now here's where you can turn the rotor brake off if you want. My connection is unstable. I don't know why it does this. Okay. Anybody can tell me why my connection keeps going in and out? I'm on Ethernet. I'm getting like 400 megabits per second. I don't know what the problem is. I'm just not smart enough with that stuff. Anyway. All right. Rotor brake's off. You don't have to use the rotor brake. I thought you had to in the last video. I guess I was wrong. So I got that off. But you can if you want. It doesn't really matter. PCLs 1 and 2 are going to fly. So, whoop, no. Oh, shit. I think I just screwed it up. Did I? Okay, no, I think it's working. All right, so here's my NPs. They're at 100, and so this is that slow, I guess we haven't fixed this yet, right? If my NPs are at 100, then my NR should be at 100. Up here, just a little brief discussion about what's happening here. We already talked about, well, let's look here. You got transmission, that's the main transmission, right? That's where the engines connect to the rotor blades, basically, right? The transmission's going to spin the rotors. Well, then you have engine oil 1 and 2, pressure and temperature, right? So if they're green, like, you're good. The engines are working right. NG is the compressor section that sucks in air and then it squeezes it. TGT is after it lights that compressed air on fire and mixes it with fuel and then lights it on fire, and then this is your turbine gas temperature, right? That's how hot the engines are getting. Torque, well, let's actually skip over to NP. Once the engines are working, it's going to blow on the high-speed turbo fan on the back and spin the high-speed shaft, and those shafts connect to the main transmission. NP's just dropped down to 91 for some reason. I don't know why. I thought I did this right. Anyway, torque is where those shafts connect to the main transmission, and then that spins NR, and NR is the rotor speed. That's why that's in the center. If that's at 100, you're good, right? 102 is fine too. But like if it's around 100, like you should be good. We always want it to be at 100, and it's not like a speed. Well, it is a speed. I don't know how many RPMs it is, you know, but it's basically 100%. We always want rotor at 100% no matter what. A lot of people think helicopters work like a ceiling fan, where if you turn it up to the high speed, it spins faster, it makes more lift, but really that's not the case. All right, the rotor's always spinning at a constant speed, and we change the pitch of the blades to create more lift. Right? And if I change them all at the same time, I'm going to go straight up, and straight up or down. But if I move this cyclic, right, then it's going to adjust the pitch of the blades according to their cycle, right? And that is how I can generate directional control. So if I increase lift on the blade that's on the right side, which it will be at any given time since it's constantly spinning, then it's going to generate lift over there, and I'm going to bank right. It's a little more complicated than that. There's something called gyroscopic precession, where you put an input on a rotating body and it manifests 90 degrees later in the plane of rotation. And so it's you got to be like a big brain Brad to design a helicopter, I'll tell you that. All right, ensure NP/NR is at 100%. Maybe I got to put these into direct. Come on. My NP's really drooping now. Oh no, it's down to 91. Rotor brake off, set PCLs to fly. I don't know. Okay, air source heat goes to engine. Oh yeah, generators 1 and 2 switches on. I would actually turn these on during the circuit breakers and switches check just to have them on, but all right, air source heat switch, APU generator. I'm not going to turn the APU generator off. What I will do, I'll put the air source heat switch to engine, that's fine in case I want to use my heater or something. And I'll go fuel pump switch off. This one's hard to grab for some reason. And then APU control switch off. But I'm not going to turn the APU generator off, because in case I need emergency power for my APU, all I need to do is go fuel pump switch on, APU control switch on, and then my APU will start and the generator will automatically kick on. But these generators provide all the electricity I need. As long as that rotor is spinning at 100%, like, I'm good. So, and de-ice system, for taxi. Okay, cool. So let's get rid of this. All right, now we're gonna take it for a little spin. Reset this here. Let's take it for a little spin and we'll see how it's actually working out. So I'm gonna release my parking brake. Boop. And let's just go ahead and take off. Which way are we heading here? West. One thing I want to say, the reason why I think I noticed this standby altimeter being all jacked up in the first video is because these screens, and I assume they made these screens to be perfectly accurate, but for me, I'm looking at, I've got a pretty big monitor here. I mean, it's not massive, but I got a pretty big monitor that I game on, and like, it's really hard for me to read these values, and that's nothing against Miltech. I think this is probably designed to be correctly, but these numbers are really small. It's hard for me to see. It's much easier for me to use this standby airspeed indicator and altimeter right here. So that's what I've been using, all right? So, all right, let's take off. Now you'll notice, you start pulling collective, it just starts pitching forward, and that's like pretty accurate to what would really happen. Let's get a little bit of altitude. We're going west. I actually want to go south. We'll go check out the Zugspitze mountain. Zugspitze. Now, you see this? Yes. Now, when I put cyclic inputs in here, I'm actually getting what I would probably get in real life, right? Yeah, see that? That's about how fast the helicopter is actually going to be responding to you. So it's far less sluggish, and that alone takes my last rating of 7 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10, just that. And now you can see my standby altimeter here is gaining slowly. It's not going like Alice in Wonderland or whatever, right? It's actually gaining altitude appropriately. And now we're going to see why the Blackhawk is the premier utility helicopter. I've flown up to this mountain in Flight Simulator in like the Bell 407 that came native with Flight Sim. And I should be going the right way, right? South. I think that's the Zugspitze up there. Yeah, I got to point. There it is. Zugspitze. My wife and I went skiing up on the Zugspitze, and we almost died. It turns out you can't learn how to ski from watching YouTube, which I thought you could. I thought like, oh, you know, no big deal. We'll just like watch some YouTube videos, pizza, French fries. I got it, right? And I think she had been skiing before when she was little, but like, I'm about to be 40. And she's in her early 40s already, and like, it's been a long time. And I thought that we were, so you Germans, all right, for all you Germans watching, your ski maps don't make any sense, okay, because we found this map at the little tourist info about which slopes are the easy ones, and we're like, yeah, let's start on the easy ones. And it said, oh, up on the Zugspitze, it's a very easy slope, you'll be fine. And like, we went up there and we seriously almost died. We went on the easiest one, and it was like, there's no way like a beginner could possibly do that slope. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. Looks like I'm about to punch into the clouds here, going inadvertent. It's pretty awesome. So H-60s are really unparalleled in their ability. I think Chinooks offer a lot of capability that a Blackhawk can't, or a H-60 can't. Chinooks are, if you don't know, they're the tandem rotor Army helicopters, and they just are so much bigger and more powerful and have so much more lifting capability. But you know, they're a bigger target, and it's hard to get them into small spaces, and you know, with the Blackhawk, the amount of power it gets and the amount that it can lift and the amount of altitude you can get in such a short amount of time. I mean, right now I'm climbing at like 2,000 feet per minute right now, and I think that'd be pretty accurate, right, if I was really pulling in torque on this sucker. Now, one thing you're going to notice is that the torque gauge over here is not quite accurate. Like, this is full collective, and the torque here is reading 63. I guess it's going up a little bit, but if I pulled up all the way, I'd be like over 100, right? You can go over 100% on these things. One thing I'm still not getting is that if I lower the collective all the way, I don't have any control authority over the cyclic. So if I just dump it, like I can't, it doesn't really do anything, so that kind of sucks. I can't really auto-rotate. However, if you're looking to get this to do the mission set, which I still haven't had a chance to check those out, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, like I don't even know how to load it. So I'm still, I've had a lot going on in between work and life and everything lately, so I've not had a whole lot of time to spend in MSFS 24 in general. Maybe I'll bust this open in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 as well and see what the differences are. Maybe I can draw some parallels, but according to the devs, it's really difficult to model turbine characteristics and stuff, and I think it has to do with shifting between 2020 and 2024. There's two different flight models, and they wanted this one to work in both, so that's going to be an issue that they may get past. But as of right now, like the actual torque readings and stuff that you're getting over here is not accurate, but like who cares? Go have fun with this thing, man. It flies like a real Blackhawk now, and or a Jayhawk or whatever you want to call Seahawk. It flies like a real 60 now, and it feels just amazing. Also, I'm going to pause it real quick. One of the other huge complaints I had that was just driving me crazy on the last video was the voices. So I came in here and I turned warnings off, and then I turned character voices all the way down. All right, and this warning, this is the GPWS. I don't have that in my Blackhawk. I think it's something warning system or whatever. I think that's the one where it's like pull up, and just like screams at you every time you get low level. But I mean, if I'm flying an H-60, I'm gonna fly 5 feet above the treetops. Like, what do you expect, right? Like, that's what I do, right? That's my jam. That's my bread and butter. So I couldn't deal with that. So anyway, if you just turn that off, and then there's also some French voice or whatever some people were commenting about, where it's like 10 feet, 5 feet, whatever. Okay, well, I don't even know if they deleted it or not. I just turned that off before I even tried it, so I don't have to worry about it. So here we are up at the peak of the Zugspitze, and if you ever come visit Deutschland and you come visit Bavaria, this is a very lovely place to go. You're going to see this beautiful peak here. Let me see if I can, let's get this weather. Let's make some adjustments here so we can actually see. Ah, yes, there we go. You will get the most beautiful views from these peaks here. Post a couple pics. But we stayed in the Riesersee Hotel, which is that way. Is that east? Yeah, where am I at? No, it should be west. I can't remember now. No, east. It should be east over there. And there's a whole lake, and it was like right on the foot of a lake. We had this incredible view from our hotel. And honestly, it like really wasn't that much money either. I mean, it wasn't cheap, but like it wasn't like thousands of dollars a night or anything like that. You know, it was amazing. Spending Christmas at the Riesersee Hotel in Garmisch is like nothing you'll ever do in your whole life. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. We had a freaking blast while we were here. And I wanted my wife to come visit me because I was stationed in Germany for 9 months, but it was during COVID, right? 2020 to 2021. And I planned to have her come visit over Christmas, and we were going to go check out all the cool places. And my wife is like German by blood, and she loves like beer and like bratwurst and stuff. It's like her favorite food. And bread. The bread here is just like unbelievably incredible. All European food is just like so, like, you know, in America you can get really, really good food pretty much anywhere you go. However, like a lot of the food is just absolute garbage. Like in Europe, all the food is just incredible everywhere you go. You know, so anyhow, all right, moving on. Let's see if we can go land on one of these mountain peaks. This is the highest one, right? Zugspitze is the highest, so let's pick a peak and we'll go give it a good landing. It's so nice that this thing handles the way a real 60 handles. I wish they would, actually I heard a rumor that they're updating the 60 Lima and DCS, and I hope they do something similar where they update the flight characteristics, the handling characteristics, because like, it's just night and day. Now, one of the hardest things about landing an H-60 is that it hovers like 5 degrees nose high. That's because when you're in forward flight, the whole rotor disc is tilted forward, so that way you're kind of like level pitch at 100 knots or so. So one of the hardest things is landing because the nose is going to be high. So what you have to do is kind of look off to the side, and then you're going to look through this little window down here, what we call the chin bubble. All right. So, sorry, I had my hand on the mouse there, so I lost control for a second. So here's the keys, guys. The key to landing this thing is go slow and don't overcorrect. You can see these tiny little inputs. I'm not doing like crazy freaking inputs on the cyclic here, all right? I'm making tiny little inputs, and if you over control, you're gonna eat shit. All right, just take it nice and slow. And if it starts to drift one way, you don't want, like, just let it drift a little bit. Don't over control it. All right, just slowly get it in here until you have developed the control touch. So here we go. I'm gonna slowly bring it down. I can't see anything. I'm like whiting out here. It's really hard to determine my position. Okay, and a little bit of a slope. Let's get out and check it out. Hell yeah. Okay, so I put the nose of the aircraft into the snow, all right? And that's kind of like a real thing you'd have to deal with. I mean, it's really hard to look at snow and these whiteout conditions. When it gets really cold, I did a lot of whiteout landings in Europe. It gets really cold, the snow turns into this like fine talcum powder, and it's almost as bad as, it's just as bad as like the moon dust that over in Afghanistan and stuff. You would land in that stuff, you're just totally blind, which is absolutely insane to think about. You're just landing an aircraft blinded, like, but that's kind of it's part of the job description. So now I will mention one thing. When I move this cyclic around and I'm in the snow, right? The snow has come up into the cockpit. Hell yeah. Awesome. All right. At least I'm not too hot. Lately it's been so hot flying out of the flight line here at the flight school. I've just been miserably hot. I would kill to have a whole cockpit just full of snow like this while I'm flying, but as you can see, as I move this cyclic, all right, I should see the rotor disc tilting as well. So I'm not sure if that's possible to model. I don't think the 60 in DCS did that either. And I think that would be pretty challenging, but that would be a really cool feature to see, to actually see my tip path plane moving around. That would really add to the realism. So I'm gonna come out of this slope here. And let's see if I can, ooh. All right, so now we're gonna do probably my favorite thing ever to do, and I did land at one of these peaks around here. I can't remember which one, but I'll post a little video here. And I didn't get a video of what I'm about to do because I needed like all hands on deck to make sure we did it without being like retarded and crashing, being stupid. But one of the most fun things to do in a helicopter is a cyclic dive off of a mountain. And it's just like it's just like in the blood of a helicopter pilot, I guess, or at least a 60 pilot, where whenever you're up on a mountain, it's like awesome cyclic dive off the end, and you really build up speed, and it's freaking awesome. So we're just gonna fly over the Zugspitze Center here. This is where you go skiing, and you can take the little lift up. And we're just gonna do a little cyclic dive. This is one of the most exhilarating things you'll ever do in your entire life. If you want to be a Black Hawk pilot in the Army or a Jayhawk pilot in the Air Force or whatever, doing this in real life is like unparalleled. And you just have to make sure that you recover a little early, you start pulling in power, start lifting that cyclic up. And I did turn this on in the snow so that we could see. Now I'm going 220 knots right now, which the aircraft is struggling to fly at that speed, which I think it would in real life too. So I wouldn't have, in real life I wouldn't have let it get that fast because I think you'd run into an aerodynamic emergency at that speed. Helicopters are not meant to fly fast, guys. Now there's a whole training area over here. If there's any Deutsch pilots who are watching this right now, I'd love to hear your feedback and let me know what you think. I know you guys come train at the Alpine training area all the time. We got to do this. Obviously, we wouldn't be allowed to fly over these houses, low level and stuff, but there are some valleys around here in the mountains where it's all part of their training area, and you can fly like Vietnam low. It's a lot of fun. Erwald, this is the city of Erwald, I guess. I tried to learn a little bit of German when I was here, and I got I learned enough to where I could ask directions to the train station, or ask somebody for a pencil or something, but like I forgot a lot of it. And then I came here to visit with my wife, and she was able to speak it better than me. She's just really good at that. I told you about my wife. She's very good with linguistics, and again, I'm going to go ahead and plug that book. If you haven't clicked on the link already, please go click it. It's 99 cents. If you appreciate what I'm doing here, giving you guys good reviews, right? If you think it's worth 99 cents, that would be a really awesome way to hook it up. We're just trying to get her name out there. We're not trying to make any crazy money off of it. She's a really talented author, and we want her to, she's got a lot more to publish, and we're trying to get her name out there. So I think, I can't remember the exact path. I might be able to find a document or something I got buried somewhere, but we would kind of have to fly like along the edge of the valleys over here. But this was a really fun flight. It's probably the most fun flight I did. We went and flew by the Neuschwanstein Castle that I mentioned earlier, and it was awesome. Okay, so guys, like solid 9 out of 10 on this update. I highly recommend picking this up. The value you get, again, this is just one of the many variants and liveries. Somebody corrected how I was saying that. Sorry, I guess I didn't know how to say that correctly, so thanks for the correction. This is just one of the very many variants and liveries, and I haven't even had a chance to try out the one. I think there's one with like Hellfire missiles and shit. Do a little cyclic climb, dip over these wires here. Yeah, see, so I just dumped the collective there real quick, and I could barely like move the cyclic, so that kind of sucks. Okay, so now let's see. I'm gonna climb up a little bit, and we're gonna go. Let's get about 1,000 feet. This is our radar altimeter down here. Pretty cool. And then let me get a little bit of speed, and then I'm gonna pull the PCLs off, and I'm gonna see if I can auto rotate this thing. I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm not gonna be able to lower the collective all the way down. And nor would I really want to do that anyway. If I had to auto rotate, I would lower it almost all the way down, but I might keep it a little bit, because I don't actually want the rotor to overspeed. Maybe if I was decelling, I would want to build up as much potential energy in the rotor system as I could, but on the initial entry into an auto, I probably wouldn't want my rotor to exceed 100 really. But I'm going to pull the PCL. I tried this yesterday, and I'm going to see if maybe I just did something wrong. So let's see. What should happen is when I pull the PCLs off, my rotor should decay. All right, so remember, that's this center little green bar here. It should decay. It should start turning yellow and then red. And then as soon as I lower the collective, it should come back up. So let's see what happens. This will be the last thing we do here. All right, PCLs are off. Dumping the collective. Looks like my rotor's holding strong right now at 100. And it looks like my circle of action is like this little road right here. That's good. All right. Now, as I get close to the ground, I'm going to do a little flare here. Okay, right about here. Start flaring. I'm going to try to decel. Cushion. All right. That worked out. And we survived, and I didn't even damage the landing gear either. See if I can go back to fly. Will it let me? Yeah, so the rotor was still at 100. Like, after I got on the ground, the rotor would have decayed. It wasn't at 100. It was at like 90 something. So that's like my only disappointment really at this point, is just how the engines interact with the rotor system and how the collective all kind of works together. And I think it's going to be really challenging for them to make that realistic. But you're never going to have to mess with that like in real life. You never, oh, okay. So now I try to take off again. I guess my rotor's still spooling up. Maybe my engines are out. Oh yeah, I've got nothing on the engines. Okay, I guess I turned them off. I guess they need to be restarted. In which case I definitely wouldn't have any NR, everything would just shut down. My generators would turn off, I would lose AC power, I would just be down to like my battery basically, you know, so. But again, that's stuff like if you're going and flying missions with this thing, like all that's irrelevant, all right? I was telling the developers that this is kind of like my gimmick on my YouTube channel where I take these things and I test them out to see how realistic they really are. And this is really part of it, right? Because, you know, when I train people, a lot of it is talking about how those systems interact, because that's like how we stay alive, right? If this NR is ever not at 100, like something is very, very wrong, you know? Now sometimes it'll fluctuate just a little bit, but if it gets down to like 90 or less, like we have a severe problem, right? And like, you know, on a helicopter, the rotor is our wings. So, I mean, just imagine you're flying an airplane and the wings fly off, right? Or, you know, that would be like detrimental. There's really no coming back from that. So, you know, how the NR interfaces with the engines and how the collective all interface together, I think it's going to be challenging for them to really get it right, especially going between MSFS 2020 and 2024. However, if you can look past that, I mean, this thing is incredible, and the level of detail is just staggering. I haven't even started to mess with this, I don't know what they call this system. I have a flight management system, which is similar, but it's more like the box in a 737. It's really like exactly the same thing, you know. So, and all these automatic autopilot controls and stuff, like I haven't even messed with that. So what I really want to do in the future is I want to do some like maybe time on target missions, you know, like some air assault kind of things, like infiltration missions or whatever with this, and I can do them in Afghanistan or wherever. Now that we have one in MSFS, the sky's the limit as to what I can do with this thing. So I've been really, that's why I've been so excited for this thing. But I'm also going to do some instrument flight, right? So which means I'm going to have to study up on how all this stuff works, and I have to figure it out. Because my system again is like, it's a little bit different. It's laid out in a very similar manner, and I have the two screens here, but even my multifunction displays are different from this and how everything's laid out. So, well, cool. Guys, I'm giving it a solid 9 out of 10. If you haven't picked this thing up yet, check it out. It just, the modeling is perfect, the 3D modeling, and as far as usability, now that we got rid of some of my earlier complaints, the work that they did to update this thing, just on this first initial hot fix, literally took it from, I think, 7 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10. So, I'm going to be pumping out as many videos on this thing as I can in the future. Just give me some time. I'm working through a lot of stuff right now between work and you know, but thanks again for watching, and make sure you click that link and buy my wife's book. Really appreciate that. So I'll see you with another video here as soon as I can. All right, Snak Pak out.